Okay, well, speaking of no friends, this one ain't got nothing Diddy. He got new charges and new claims. Are we surprised? It's almost like every day you open up Hollywood Unlocked and there's another story about another claim.
It's the never-ending story.
I like that movie.
Yeah, I'd love that movie. Yeah.
Well, I don't like
You don't
this
know that
one.
movie.
No.
Anyway,
Of course not.
What is that?
move on. Another
the
person that
heck?
doesn't like this movie is Diddy, because not only is he facing new charges in his federal sex trafficking case, but some new claims from actor Terrence Howard. On May 5th, Diddy is scheduled to begin his federal trial in New York. That is on Cinco de Mayo. So, si se puede, Diddy, it's coming. Well, but a month before the hearing, prosecutors added 2 new charges to Diddy's indictment, and prosecutors expect 4 accusers to testify against Diddy, including Cassie, who's been referred to as victim number 1 in court docs. Victim number 2, 3, and 4 have remained or have asked to remain anonymous, but Cassie's preparing to testify under her own name. The new testimonies will expand on allegations that Diddy engaged in sex trafficking with multiple women as recently as last year. Now, the new charges allege that Diddy used force, fraud, and coercion to compel a woman identified as victim 2 to engage in commercial sex acts from at least 2021 to 2024. Let me stop there for a minute. Does that sound crazy? Who forcing you for 3 years? Once you get on a plane to come and suck some penis or do some doo-doo, and you do the do, and you go home and you're free from it, why would you go back? Why would you go back for 3 years?
Who knows what else is involved in that? We don't know if there's like...
If I was the president, I would pass federal legislation that if you accuse somebody of something and you get found to have been lying, you get the amount of time they would have got if they were guilty.
Yeah, but also, again, like with a person with an extreme amount of power, like there is a level of fear that comes with that.
I have power.
Mhm.
I have flown people that I'm talking to see me because it's more convenient. It's a convenience thing. Everybody in the industry that's moving around flies people to see them. I have flown my friends. I've flown you to countries. I've flown people out to have a good time. But I don't fly them out making them feel like they have to have sex, making them have sex with other people, or making them feel bad if they don't have sex. That said, if you do get flown out by somebody you're talking to, sex should be an expectation. If I'm flying you out, we're talking and we're on the phone talking about sex, and I fly you out, what you think you flying out for?
Brunch.
To further the relationship in person.
I'm saying if you talk on the phone and you are clear, because I can only say for me that if I'm talking to you romantically, I make it clear on the phone like what we doing, like but it's like a mutual thing. There's nobody on the phone being told you have to come and get it, or else you're gonna go to jail or hell or Like
yeah, but
that,
people also, and it should be clear, people don't show up to your house and there's baby oil cameras,
course.
5 other people,
Yeah.
Security. Going.
So
well,
all of these things
that's all insane, right? That's insane. But what I'm saying is, I think like when Boosie was talking on the show, and Boosie was talking about the Freako, and I think that again, I'm not defending what Diddy did, because if Diddy did all of this, there's no whatever. Being a freak is not illegal.
No.
You've been a big old freak. I'm a big old freak. I ain't that kind of freak, but being a freak is not illegal. And I think we need to be very clear that's why I think there's a lot of celebrities afraid to do our show, because we know that people, it's a freaky world out there. If you have 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, I don't do any of that. But if that's what people are into, that's not illegal. It's when you're forcing people to be in it. But here's my question, and I'll go back to y'all. Please in the comments, let me know. How can a person say they were involved or forced to be in these freak-offs for 3 years?
Again, because that's what I'm saying. Like if you, like for example, you wouldn't be subject to this because you're a little bit stronger, I think. But if somebody flew you out and then you didn't know you were being recorded, I'm not saying this is, I'm saying alleged. And then now you had, if you were a person who, like Ruby Rose is saying, the idea of an OnlyFans video getting out is scary for her. But imagine if somebody has a tape of you getting ran
and
through
then
by
they're
5
making you come
people.
back, because is that what they're claiming?
I don't know, but
There
I'm just
definitely
saying,
has to be blackmail.
I'm saying,
involved.
Well,
I'm
I
saying
mean,
there are spaces,
but that
for
is
people to
criminal.
come back
That's criminal
for those kinds
But
of
that's
reasons.
criminal.
Yeah.
You can't even release a sex tape on somebody you dated, because that's
Exactly.
revenge porn. Okay, absent those examples, like, yes, if you're saying to somebody, I got you on tape, just busting it open, and if you don't come bust it open for the next 2 years, I'm gonna put it out, that's different. Absent that, how do you make it a claim that you were enticed into this relationship for 3 years? Once you get on the plane and go home, you out. People, please educate me, because I had to call my attorney and say, okay, if I flew somebody out, is that illegal? No. If I flew somebody out and we had sex, is that illegal? No. if I flew somebody out and never wanted to see them again after we had sex, is that illegal? No, because there are times things don't work out.
Yeah.
However, if you fly somebody out for the purpose of having sex and then you force them to have sex with you or anybody else, or you coerce them with I'm going to give you this career if you come out here and meet with me, and then when you come out, I need you to fuck. That's all weirdo shit. Like, you should be in prison for being a weirdo. But y'all also need to be in prison for those of you that set the weird shit up, because there's a lot of you that were madams and stuff around Puff that have not been indicted, because I keep seeing you. Y'all know who y'all see. Do you think TikTok? Well, anyway, the new indictment, which is the second filed against Diddy, also accuses him of helping transport victim number 2, plus other people, including commercial sex workers, to engage in prostitution during the same time. Now, that is where he's alleged to have hired guys to have sex with these women against their will. That is criminal. If that happened, you're going to be in trouble, Diddy. Well, since Diddy's September 2024 arrest, he now faces a total of 5 charges relating to racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitution. Now, aside from news regarding his federal sex trafficking case, Diddy is also facing claims by actor Terrence Howard on the PBD podcast that he claimed Puff tried to hit them cheeks. Oh my God, this had me weak over the weekend. Look.
But when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there, because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from. So maintain your man card, no matter what. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you give up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. What benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing, and have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that shit, because the man card means everything.
What do you make of that?
This whole conversation, I understand what he's trying to say, but I was just annoyed by this whole conversation because essentially he was emasculating men who are gay.
That's what I got from it.
Yeah, and it was just so unfortunate to me, because I love Terrence Howard as an actor, but that disgusted me.
That's what I got from it. And I didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know how I felt about it, because on one hand, I do believe, based on what he said, this is based on what he said, the way he described it, I do believe if somebody was asking you to come over to help them read lines, help them listen to music, help coach them, whatever, and then you get there and all they want to do is stare at you and there's no business being made, after a couple of times, it seems like you're being lusted after. It seems like you're being lured into something. And if that's how he felt based on how he described it, then I would say, yeah, that was some weird shit. But it's always the conflation for me of the emasculation of the gay man that pursues his sexual interests, desires, or curiosities with somehow losing their manhood. It's a lot of y'all manhood out there not taking care of your children. It's a lot of y'all dropping babies off, dropping dick off, and women out here, baby mama, scarred for the rest of their life, don't have no love, don't have no way of teaching their young girls, their daughters, your daughters, how a man's supposed to treat them because they watch mommy get treated like a dirty towel. You know, I find it interesting that all of you heterosexual men that have all these daddy issues, that have all these self-identity issues, that have all these internal crises, turn around and conflate being gay to being a pedophile, to being an emasculator. Yes, man. I probably make more money than Terrence Howard is making right now. And what is a man? Somebody who can provide for their family, provide for their staff, provide for their business. I'm not trying to shade you, Terrence. You just opened up a conversation that I had a reaction to. I was like, wait a minute, what you mean emasculation? Because I can tell you, I've had lots of straight men, who've been curious or interested or desire to explore something with me and even fall in love with me. That doesn't make them less of a man. In fact, I ain't going to get into my personal business, but let's just say I have exes who have moved on to women, who are back with women, who are with other men. I think that every individual needs to start owning their own shit. Just like Diddy has to own him, ask you to come over to read lines with him when really he wanted to read between your crack. And you needing to understand this read of you being educated on the fact that a man who pursues his sexual interest does not make him less than a man. In fact, I see a lot of trans online beating y'all up at clubs, beating y'all up in the streets, taking off their wigs, heels, and nails, and beating the shit out of y'all. That's that they still, I ain't gonna call him a masculine, but it is definitely a man beating y'all up. Cause y'all be trying to play. So the conflation for me was a lot. That's what it was.
Yeah, and it's annoying to me because I'm like, if stop obsessing over the gay community, stop fucking talking about gay people. It's annoying because if your conversation is the pursuit of like this masculinity or manhood, it's not defined by you solely just sticking your penis in a woman. Like that's not what makes you a man.
Well, that's all they're taught though.
But that's exactly. So for me, like, let's turn the conversation the other direction. Like, what about the people who are in these rooms taking advantage of women who are in compromising circumstances? Like, is that okay? Does that define manhood for you? Like, where do you draw the line? Because the conversation is solely about don't give up your manhood by having sex with a man. Because once you do that, you're not a man anymore. Like, that's a dumb conversation.
Let's go back to Dr. Bryant. What is your baseline? What is your baseline for being a man? I don't know what their baseline is. I think being a protector, being a provider, being a nurturer, being somebody who can be vulnerably available, and stop the recidivism of men falling into being bad men is being a man. I don't know that being a freak makes you less than a man or more of a man. I don't think how many bodies you got, how many beautiful kids you got for postcards if they all got different mamas. Like, y'all don't have no baseline definition of what being a man is. And it's easy to use gay people as a target because you know the flames will be fanned online and people will say, oh, this faggot, this, da. Here's the deal. I'm willing to have this debate with Terrence Howard or any other man that wants to have it. By the way, I'm a fan of Terrence Howard, so just be very clear. This is not me criticizing somebody that I don't like. I actually respect him. I just don't respect these conversations that literally go nowhere. You were on the right track explaining your story of how you believe Diddy was trying to do you in the butt. Then you went from that over to all men and casting this broad net of any man that's ever been with a man that's let go of the only thing he should hold on to, and that is his manhood. I'm sorry, none of us want your manhood. In fact, when some of you come over and give us your manhood, we can't wait until you leave with it because it wasn't worth it anyway. And a lot of the sacrifice we make in dealing with you straight men is all the counseling and therapy that has to go into making you feel good about decisions that you made after you sucked the dick that you wanted. Anyway, Terrence, I'm sorry that Diddy didn't do it. I'm sorry you didn't have to take that. But whatever's going to happen with Diddy on May 5th, we'll all be there to watch. I'm sure he's going to be in an orange jumpsuit with the clinks, right?
And while he's in an orange jumpsuit, everyone else is going to be dressed for the Met Gala because that's the same day. So I'm like, which one do we watch? The Met Gala, the Diddy trial, or Cinco de Mayo?
Okay, that mess is the reason why people don't come on my show.
I can't.
I think we watch it all.
Yep.
I think by day we watch.
We're going to have 3 monitors.
No, day we watch Diddy in jail, and at night we watch Rihanna and Rocky on the carpet.
We put on our pearls for the Met Gala.
I don't wear pearls. That's gay. Anyway, yes. I'm emasculating all of you gays that wear pearls. Just playing, but not really. That's it.